Old school moon, house 1. The moon in the first house. The first house relates to the first sign of Aries. The first house is the house of identity, individuality, sense of self, uniqueness. It's one's appearance. It governs the relationship you have with yourself. The first house governs the first 7 years of life, where you're forming your basic identity and your sense of individuality. So people born with the moon in the first house, especially when they're younger, have always got not so much a me first attitude, but they're always concerned around how they fit, where they fit, and it's always about, when in an immature way, it's like, you made me feel. As I get older, it's like, I feel passionately about this. The moon in the first house has a dynamic pattern of emotional action. It certainly thinks that actions speak louder than words. And rather than spend time talking about how they feel to other people, they'll just give them a big kiss on the lips or a slap around the face. The moon in the first house is dynamic and projective and assertive. And yes, at times it can be quite childish. When young, it can get very upset. The moon in the first house, if it doesn't get its own way. And there is a little bit of the Aries company here. Moon in the first house, when they're young, the universe stops there at the end of the nose. But as they age, as they get into their 30s and the 40s, the moon in the first house realizes that they can put their passion and their feeling and emotion into anything they want, and that they can improve the chances of success in whatever they're doing by putting feeling into it. As they age, people with the moon in the first house realize that feeling and emotion and sensitivity to both other people's situations and vibrations, as well as the vibrations of the environment they're in, go a long, long way to influencing their output. And they realize that it's no point in doing something if you don't feel good about it. People with the moon in the first house, they've got to feel good about what they're doing, because then they will be successful and they will get good results. Moon in the first house. When you're young, it's a difficult position because it makes it very difficult to be aware of what other people are going through. This matures as it ages, and in the end of the day, the moon in the first house person cares just as much about others as they do about themselves, because they know that if others who they interact with are in a good space, they're in a good space. So I guess at the end of the day, the moon in the first house, once they're old anyway, is all about sharing.